pleasure to be here with you today, and I'm sure that the presentation will be ready in a second so that it can guide us through this discussion. I did subtitle my presentation, The Critical Appraisal of Wood as a Building Material, because I'm a wood scientist and I've been following in the last years how we are developing, and at the same time wanted to make sure that we do not forget about the past and the knowledge that was there before. So I'm coming from Slovenia, from University of Primorska and Research Center Renew. At the same time, I am an active member of Wood for Bauhaus Alliance that was created when the new European Bauhaus was established. And we want to be heard around Europe and beyond, that we can support in the development of the built environment. For a start, I will ask you, where would you rather be, on the upper photo or the lower one? And each of you can answer in your mind, and I will tell you, you would like to be in the lower one, because people, we are coming from nature, and that's the environment we are comfortable in. But the fact is that many of us are spending 80 to 90% of our time indoors. And I could give you the same question again. In which photo would you rather be, right or left? And again, I would say most likely is the left one, because it is built of natural material, wood. Regenerative sustainability is an expression that maybe it's not heard enough, but when we are tackling climate changes and how we want to preserve our planet, it's not only about reducing the environmental harm, but it's about how to create the positive impact. We need to go towards regeneration. And when doing this in the built environment that we want to transform into carbon sink, we should not forget that we need to include the new build as well as the older one, the building stock that already exists. And in my belief, timber is the material that can be used for one and the other. It's an ideal material for so-called restorative, environmental, and ergonomic design, where we are not only achieving the sustainability objectives and goals, but we are also connecting humans to nature. Natural material like wood is a very important way to connect people to nature, also indoors. It has many impacts on us. It can provide health benefits, and also when we are connecting people to nature, it causes them to care about the environment. But wood as a material is very complex, the result of nature. We can go from the forest to the trees to the boards, which we can see, but there is so much in the micro and nano structure of it. And with a good understanding and knowledge about the materials on these different levels, we can construct, I would say, the built environment of the future. But in the beginning, I mentioned the past. And here I would like to share with you an example how in Istria, many years ago, were directing the cultivation of forests and the trees for specific parts of the Venetian Navy needs. Today, we don't do this anymore, but we have a knowledge about the material on these different levels that was previously presented on previous slide. And we are going into the sky, we could say. We can construct buildings, and every year we get a higher building. But that's not the intention, that I would say we need to go high, but the intention is that to share with you, we are capable of making cities, our new urban regions, also with timber. Why wood is so important? It was emphasized today a few times already, but one aspect of it is that the true circularity can be achieved. Renewable materials, we can go in circles, and we are not taking, of course, with proper management of the forest, we are not taking anything from the nature. Today, we often see what we are on the waste collection facilities, that wood as a material, when it comes to the end of the life cycle, is just used for the energy. I would say, let's avoid this. Let's encourage one another that we are not burning the wood, but that we are using it in a cascade way, going from the boards in large dimensions, in the next cycle, going down to the fibers, making engineered wood products out of it, and only at the end use it as energy. We've been often discussing which material is proper, and the fact is that we need to be having the proper choice of materials for proper use. But still, the carbon stock in the wood-based materials is the reason why we need to go towards cascade utilization of wood. We need to use more wood, I would say, and I hope that there is many of you around that agree with me. But how? My strong belief is that interdisciplinary approach and modern research fields need to be combined with the sustainability and sensible use of natural resources, and in my case of today's presentation, wood. We need to be, of course, also applying the modern technologies. VR can be one of them, and include people in their designs and show them before they make a decision where they want to live, how their home will look like. But we should not forget that the planet is changing, and also the new timber species that should be utilized in the built environment are among us. And by knowing the wood as a material, we can modify it, we can be changing it with the needed properties for certain applications. I have here an example of densified wood that was developed in our laboratories, and we can turn poplar, fast-grown plantation wood into construction material. I could go on, but I think that it's very important to come back to the built environment and human. Restorative environmental and ergonomic design is bringing the person back into the center, looking at how the built environment is impacting us. And as it was today emphasized, local materials. And Europe, I believe we have enough wood that we can be using wood as the one that we construct with. And design for this assembly is something that will enable us that after the first cycle of a building, we will use the timber, the engineered wood product, again in a new way and in a new built environment. At this, it's important that also in buildings, we are connecting people with nature. One way is with the material, but we should not forget also with the natural light, with the sounds of nature, and I could be going further of the importance. But at the same time, we need to be aware that constructing with timber, it also requires that we are very careful, and we still need to learn, and therefore we need demonstrations, and we need to monitor, and we need to apply the modern technologies, how we can be actually monitoring the performance of buildings. Sensoring of the buildings is one way that today can assure that we will know exactly when the building needs to be refurbished, when needs to be repaired, when how it is behaving in different climates. There is also one project that is currently underway in France that is a demonstration building, and it's not my intention to go into detail of this demo house, but I want to encourage everyone, let's make the demonstrations and let's educate one another. And to come back, which I mentioned at the beginning, it's not only the new build, it needs to be also the old buildings stock that we have, especially in Europe. Here I have an example of an old Servite monastery that is a cultural monument of national importance in Slovenia, and we are currently renovating it. I allowed myself to bring a few brochures that are outside the room, and you're welcome to take them, but there is a kind of like a treasure of knowledge from the past in this building that with the modern technologies we can record, and we can be passing it to new generations. For the end, I will just pass you through the 9 R's, the circular economy concept, and how timber can be in place in this concept of 9 R's. Refuse. So we should be not always wanting more and more. Sometimes we need to make a decision that certain materials are not proper. And when it comes to wood, we could say, let's not use too much of it. Let's make decisions, proper decisions. Rethink, why not making products that other materials are currently used for? For example, wooden tiles or radiator grids that can be produced out of wood when we are understanding it, how we need to modify that will perform in the purpose we are making it for. Reduce. When we are constructing, for example, there is waste, also waste wood created. And let's reduce it, and what it's created, let's reuse it to a certain purpose. Sometimes we are going too much towards easy way, but it's important that we go also towards repair, taking the challenges with the purpose that we are creating the built environment together and for our better well-being. With refurbishing of, let's connect with the local societies, and let's create together, as the new European Bauhaus is saying, our environment in which we live in. These are my colleagues, my researchers from InnoRenew, who just before the summer refurbished the benches in Isola in the town. Remanufacture, in cascade utilization, the waste wood can be used in, for example, particle boards. Repurpose, we can always find another use of the material that we are using. Recycle, again, I could go into the engineered wood products where fibers are being used, and we do not need to just burn the wood. Of course, at the end, we shouldn't be forgetting about all other renewables that there exist. As stated, I wanted to focus on wood, but at the same time, I want to emphasize it's not only wood that is important. And what is, in my belief, the need for the next step? how to make more wood. I believe it's important to accelerate knowledge transfer to co-create a beautiful and sustainable built environment for all. And Inner Renew Beyond is how we are calling this project at our institute, where we want to learn how to transfer all the knowledge that we have in the institute, the scientists that are discovering new knowledge and how to pass it to the society and economy. We are not the only ones. Many research institutions, universities exist around the world, and only together we will achieve that the accelerated transfer into the real world will happen of scientific knowledge. For the end, let me invite you to a conference, Wood Rise, that we are going to be will be held in Slovenia, in Portorož this September. Also, we have some of the speakers from today's event and with us, and let's together discuss the taller timber buildings and especially how wood can be used in the renovation wave of our cities. Thank you very much, and thank you to the team that is behind.
So, congratulations, very nice speech. We have some minutes. If there are some comments or questions, please. I have one, sorry. Very interesting in this question. And I want to know what are the difference if you compare it with wood with brick, because, for example, in the Latin war, as you know, all people use brick. It's not easy. Also in our favelas, Villas Miseria in Buenos Aires, and it's impossible to convince the people to use wood. They have wood, but prefer to.
Yeah, it's the tradition. Of course, this is something that everyone is looking for. And that's why I emphasize the need to do the demonstrations to actually show to the society that wood, when it's properly used and can be creating the structures that are holding for centuries. And of course, we could always argue that, but how can we make everything out of wood? We cannot, of course not. But with the understanding of the material, we can be changing it, modifying it with temperature, with adding maybe a waste stream from the agriculture, where it's a lot of very rich chemicals that are natural based, and utilize them to have a durable product to be used in the built environment. But at the same time, it's hard to imagine for us, especially Europeans, that we always were building for centuries, that sometimes we need to be also thinking that design for disassembly and not having the structures for millions of years available or thousands of years, but for the need of a person. And this goes also towards, we are changing, we are going from having a young family, kids in the house, and we are growing and we'll stay alone in the house, and at the end we are elderly, that we need a different environment. And when we design with the concept design for disassembly, this can be, the built environment can actually grow with us. And here I think it's the opportunity that we make demonstrations, that we openly share the phases of construction and changing to people that will start to trust the material also in the regions where maybe traditionally some other materials were more kind of adopted. Thank you.
Takes a while until no, I fully agree with the demonstration, and actually what Franziska Reh showed us is really breathtaking. I mean, it's so beautiful. It is taken from local resources. You have to see it, and when you believe that it's possible, so it's very important. But I have another question. which is about the broader bioeconomy, because you said it's not just wood. We can do fantastic things with wood, of course, but it's of a renewable bio-based materials, celluloses, and so on. Could you spend a few words on that? Because in the end, we will need a portfolio of new approaches.
I'm sorry. Yes, I would be saying that the need is that also the renewable materials that I at the end just emphasized, which are, or they are, that today often are used also with combination with some fossil fuel materials, and that's the way we are actually creating durable or some properties that are needed for certain purposes. And there is the opportunity for us to change, especially because we need to have natural base also the add-on to the core material. And of course, there is the question of the amounts that are available. Wood as a material, we have it. We have a lot of it. We often today also, of course, use it with fossil-based materials as adhesives, coatings, and all of this should be changed and really be turned into natural base. With the natural material, other natural renewable materials, we have the task to actually choose the proper parts of a built environment where they, with their lower availability in terms of amounts, can be creating the better performance of a building, from the energy efficiency to, of course, the well-being of the built environment as such.